Well, it's been a very long season indeed, but we're finally here at the last round of Spec-5 World Tour Season 19, Round 15 here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. An incredibly long track that is going to offer plenty of opportunities for mistakes that could define how this championship runs through. Bringing it to you live here on HJBC. It is myself, Reese Gardner, with Michael Derby behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons, bringing you these live pictures. We will see if we are joined by anyone over the course of this broadcast. But for the moment, we'll be keeping our eyes closely peeled on the goings-on here in the final couple of sessions before we start things off for the race. It's going to be a double-length finale here. 90 minutes around the Nürburgring, and we are currently in the midst of the final moments of that qualifying session now, as Eugenio Pollici has found himself on pole position just ever so briefly. We'll see if there's any response here from the likes of Lincoln Fox, Michael Coates, etc. Obviously, we do have championship standings to talk about, but they will wait for the run to the start here. Keeping an eye on the likes of Tom Athon coming down the long straight past the Dottinger Höhe. The restaurant, the entry onto this circuit, if you decide to drive it as you are allowed to. It is, well, it technically operates as a public road at some points of the year, or private toll road. Anyone can drive around the Nürburgring if they have the requisite license and safety equipment. But to the end of the lap, we'll see what Tom Athon can do here. His fastest lap, a 10:05, and he is going to jump for pit lane. And it's probably a good idea to be practicing pit lane, especially considering you're not going to get many chances to nail it during the race. Brandon Hawken is our championship leader coming into this round, and he has not set a time yet with 3 minutes to go. Let's see what kind of pace he can put on for the moment. He's coming up to the most northern part of the circuit, the section where Niki Lauda had his crash in 1976. His very famous crash, which scarred him for life and was immortalized in the film Rush, up to Bergwerk. And then the run across the top of the circuit on the way up to the carousel. Nailing the power out of Bergwerk is incredibly important, because in this MX-5, it's basically flat out all the way until the turns before the carousel. Much faster machinery. You end up having to lift at a couple of points, maybe even properly get on the brakes, but I don't think that's going to be the case in these MX-5s. Brendan Hawken has always had a super turn of pace. Not afraid to get the rear end out, but it seems like he's having a bit of trouble getting that rear end swung out here. Maybe he's just driving a little more within his limits this time, fully due to the nature of the track. Just look at the speed he carries as he makes his way up to the carousel, this iconic corner of the Nürburgring. Banked drain on the inside that is perfectly legal, even encouraged to use. And you are slingshotted out of the corner. Find your way up towards the end of the lap. Just under 2 minutes to go in the session. And getting a very good view as to what Brandon Hawken's steering inputs are like through this section. Yeah, there's a couple of big wrenches of the wheel here and there, but generally he's smoothly blending the car from one corner to the other. That kind of consistency is key to driving well around the Nürburgring, but he's not afraid to get a little leery at times. Oh, look at that bit of oversteer. Lots of oversteer, in fact, for Brandon Hawken. He won't be able to complete this lap, I don't think, but at the very least, it'll be an entertaining ride. For now, though, we'll see YouTube corner ball a long way behind us as we make our way up to some of the most fearsome corners on the lap here. At this point, there's a little jump before you blend into what is usually a third or fourth gear right-hander in most cars, and then the track just drops away from you after this left all the way down the hill. When I first played this circuit in Gran Turismo 4, that part of the circuit was by far the most scary, and one that it took me a very long time to nail indeed. Now we're almost coming up to the Kleiner carousel, sort of carousel number 2 right here, but largely due to, once again, the banking on the inside. There's the flag, and that, I believe, is going to be qualifying done, which means, incredibly, no time for our championship leader, Brandon Hawken. That means that Eugenio Polici is going to be starting on pole position for this one, with Lincoln Fox alongside him. Ray Lombardi and Otis Adams Jr. will start 3rd and 4th. Then it's Donnie Moffat and Michael Coates on row number 3. Rui Coimbra and Travis Hewitt are 7th and 8th. Hewitt taking pole position for the open class. Mark Cheng and Gareth Brocklesby will be starting in 9th and 10th. Moving on through to 11th place, Mike Oswald and Mitchell Peake, they are sharing the 6th row. Lee Martin and Jack Stadola, 13th and 14th. Then it's Tom Athon and Sean Hayes, 15th and 16th. Jordy Fike, Brian Jabelski, Peter Rosokis and Mark Kruger rounding out your top 20. With yet more cars to come here, we have Andrew Kosick and Liam Park, the last drivers to set times. We have not seen lap times from Brandon Hawken, Kyle Genske, Paul Murgatroyd, Todd Martin, Jason Stalker, Rob Conahan, Paulo Coimbra, or Gerard Brady. Now, is there anyone else on this field? It doesn't look like it. 30 cars round for the final round of Spec-5 World Tour here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife as they line their way up on the dummy grid. Spec-5 usually likes to do full formation laps, but that won't be possible here. We would certainly be a long way waiting for that to come about at this circuit. But while we have a moment, it's probably time to check out how the points are coming into this final round. Brandon Hawken is dominant at the moment, and I get the feeling that even if he doesn't get a great result today, he would likely still take the championship from here with about 210 points ahead of Michael Coates. Joshua Soto, 917 points, only 5 behind Coates. Polici has a good chance to gain some extra points here today. Same for Moffat and Adams, with Collins, Coimbra, Oswald and Peake rounding out your top 10 for the pro points. In the open class, meanwhile, Travis Hewitt sees only about 42 points to Jack Stadola, so it could be interesting to see how that works out between them. Lee Martin, Jason Stalker, Paul Murgatroyd, your top 5, with Mark Kruger and Mark Cheng separated by about 70 points. Then Coimbra, Rosokis and Michael Tuck rounding out your top 10 for the open class. And finally, for Mr. Clean, Brian Jabelski and Lee Martin are the only ones in contention here, with Brandon Hawken leading the charge of best of the rest, really, for the drivers with the least incidents. So that's going to bring things to a close for the opening part of this run here. We'll find our way down to the bottom of the hill and prepare for the start from here. Now, this is the 24-hour layout of the Nürburgring, so it will start with a tight chicane to lead things off, then running down the Grand Prix circuit, and then back onto the Nordschleife. It's a tough lap, a rough lap here at the Nürburgring. But the first of which is going to start now. Race should work out to about 9 laps distance or thereabouts as we find our way to the green flag. Eugenio Pollici leads us away here for the final round of Spec-5 World Tour Season 19. What an incredible season it has been. Pollici has yet to stand on the top step of the podium. Could he do it here in Germany? Well, green flag is out and they're racing. Fox and Pollici barely separated by anything. Fox gets the better run down the straight, sweeps around the outside into the first chicane. Outside line becomes the inside for the next corner, and there's almost contact between our leaders, but Pollici holds on to it. Meanwhile, a little further back, it seems that Pollici's coming under, sorry, not Pollici, that's Fox there, that's coming under pressure from Adams and Lombardi for the last couple of spots on the podium. Lombardi's had a really good run of things here. But for now, let's see what kind of moves are made at the southern hairpin. This is a beautiful sweeping sequence of corners. Followed closely by the Schumacher S. Single file through this particular part of the track. And I guess now is the point where you've really got to try your best to get into that rhythm. Because you've got an awful lot to come. Hawken has worked his way up to 7th place already. He is on an absolute charge here. And, well, if we were racing on the Grand Prix circuit, I'd say, wow, he's up to 7th place by the end of the first lap, but it is far from the end of the first lap here. We've still got the entirety of the Nordschleife to run. There goes Brandon Hawken, trying to grab 6th place off Michael Coates. Now through the Sabine Schmitz curve. First real corner of the Nordschleife. This is where the track really narrows up and drivers start to acquire a different skill set. This right here is Hatzenbach, my personal favorite sequence of corners on the track. I've driven through it the most because most other times I've crashed shortly after, so I have the most mileage in this section of the track. But for the moment, oh, that looks like a little bit of a run from Coates there, potentially. Brandon Hawken making his way past Michael Coates and Donnie Moffat. I think it was Moffat that was a little bit wide coming out of Hatzenbach. And he has, well, Brandon Hawken has managed to take the both of them by the time they get to Flugplatz. So now, rounding out the top 5 is our championship leader. I mean, I was expecting him to be making moves, but certainly wasn't expecting him to be this far up after only about 3.5 minutes of racing. Back up to our leaders, meanwhile. Adams is really pressuring the back of Lombardi there, but the Dutchman holds strong. Pollici and Fox continue to fight at the front of this field. It seems like Fox is giving Pollici a tiny little hurry up. There's very long straight line sections around this particular part of the lap. Oh, hello. Something's gone wrong for someone, quite substantially. I think that might be Mark Cheng. It is Mark Cheng that has gotten into the wall. This is a place where it's very easy to make mistakes. Did he just catch the grass there? I'm not sure. But it's a high-speed section of the track with the walls, the guardrails, I guess you could say, very close at all times. So any mistake you make, it's pretty much insta-kill. Unfortunately for Cheng, he'll have to spend some time getting towed back to pit lane. Hopefully he'll be able to at least get back out there and get himself classified. Polici continuing to lead from Fox, Lombardi, Adams, and Hawken. It looks like Coates, Coimbra, open class leader Travis Hewitt, they've managed to stay in touch with this pack. The slipstream has brought them all back together. We're almost about to come up to Bergwerk now. This will be the start of the next real, I guess you could say straight. It's not a straight out of Bergwerk, but it serves as one effectively after this sequence of flowing yet sharp corners past the site of, again, Lauda's 76 accident. And Bergwerk itself a little bit faster than you think. Just see the speed that they carry through there. The more speed you do carry, the more pace you'll have on this section. Lombardi trying to get a move done here and go for the lead. Is Adams going to follow him? Is Hawken going to follow him? Is the question. So Polici, Fox, and Adams pick the left side of the track, but Brandon Hawken is going to push Ray Lombardi to the lead of the race. Just in time for these incredibly fast corners here. The left-hander in particular, a very treacherous one. Just a little lift, if that, and Hawken almost looking to find a way through there on Ray Lombardi, but it's hard to pass at this section. So there's not much that can be done from there. Big defense, meanwhile, from Eugenio Polici. As he tries to keep himself on the podium, he has lost the lead, but can certainly get it back if he works together with his rivals behind. Up to Carousel for the first time. This will be interesting for Ray Lombardi. Spending some time out of the wheelhouse, out of the driver's seat, coming back a few rounds ago. Meanwhile, Rui Coimbra has a problem through the carousel. That's Mike Oswald that's just gotten past him. Looks to me like Gareth Brocklesby did much the same, just sort of in the area of the open class lead. I don't think either of our open class leaders were necessarily involved with that. The number one of Travis Hewitt is presently number one in the open class. So we'll see what he can do to pull off a result here today. Lee Martin and Jack Stadola still working themselves nicely in open class as well. Stadola sits fourth in open with 15th overall, just behind Kyle Ginsky. And there is Auburn Kyle's very distinctive livery. I love that shade of orange. Definitely stands out against the track here as they come up to what is popularly known as YouTube Corner. And then the run down the hill again until they get to the Dottinger Höhe. Check it back in with our leaders. Ray Lombardi still leads the way with Brandon Hawken close behind. It looks like a bit more of a spread happening now between our leading pack. That could help them though when they get to the straight. It'll be good to have a little bit of space to slingshot your way past if you want to go for the lead. Or go for taking a position. Oh, that's Adams off. A little bit wide there out of Kleiner Carousel. And has dropped very far back from the top four now. Under pressure from Donnie Moffat and Michael Coates. This could turn into quite the chance for them to work together. Travis Hewitt isn't far behind them either. Now the slipstream kicks in. Are there going to be any moves? Lombardi still leading the way there with Hawken pushing him along. Moffat and Coates are going to slipstream past Adams there, who decides it's probably best to just sit behind them. For the time being, at least. Ruby Coimbra and Mike Oswald side by side, though. Neither of these guys are getting much help from anyone ahead. Meanwhile, for the lead, they are now into the final corners, and it doesn't look like there are any real changes for position there. Everyone's just trying their best to hold station. And that is lap 1 complete. Now, will Brandon Hawken go for the lead at any point here? Is he just going to hold on and try and push this stint out as much as possible? It is a long race, the longest race of the season. Checking a bit further back to the 149 Lee Martin there. He was third place in open, but keeping a close eye on things. He potentially just took a big dive there. Stays third in open class, but making moves on the pros as Ray Lombardi and Brandon Hawken lead us down to the southern hairpin again. Incredibly long circuit here. We're looking at about 3 minutes per sector at this particular track. Just over 3 minutes for sectors 2 and 3, more like 3.5 minutes for sector 1. And in the pits still, Mark Kruger. Mark Cheng has not re-emerged since he had his off. We'll be interested to see what happens to Kruger from there, whether or not he's going to come back out. Looks like some jostling going on further back. Around about 22nd, 23rd overall, Todd Martin and Sean Hayes were apparently jostling about for position, but pay that no mind. Staying with the lead for now. Brandon Hawken, now that he has the lead here over Ray Lombardi, is likely going to try and drive away from everybody here. But it's going to be difficult to do. We're in a long circuit with long straights. This is much like the Bend or Monza, the 10K oval. You can't exactly run away like you could at most other tracks. So up over the rise, over the crest where most cars go airborne, but the MX-5 does not. Doesn't have quite as much speed as your typical GT3 machinery. Lombardi getting close to Hawken here. But not quite close enough for a move. It has brought Eugenio Pollicci, Lincoln Fox, and Donnie Moffat back into it. Michael Coates holding on to. It looks like Otis Adams, while he is a bit further back than he was before, he's at the very least able to just latch onto the back of the pack there. And I see the same deal for Travis Hewitt. That's a bit wide on the way out there for the number 56. of Mitchell Peak, who's trying his best to work his way forward. We've been seeing quite a few big gains over the course of this race so far. Brandon Hawken, of course, the hard charger, 13 places up from where he started. Wasted no time getting to the lead. We have a few drivers who are up 5 positions apiece. Kyle Genske in 12th place. Jason Stalker in the open class, up 5 spots also to 17th overall and 5th in class. Just ahead of Jason Stalker, Jack Stadola just took 3rd place in open from Lee Martin. So that's an interesting development. We still have more than an hour and a quarter to go. To Bergwerk we come for the second time, and yeah, Hawken is not letting up, but he's not exactly getting away either. Ray Lombardi keeping him very honest indeed. If Hawken wins this race or finishes on the podium, he'll easily take the title. But in any case, we'll see what Ray Lombardi can do to steal that thunder from the man who's been up the front the majority of the season. Looks like bump drafting happening a bit further back between Eugenio Pollicci and Lincoln Fox. It is dangerous to try and bump draft on this section of the circuit because have a look at how narrow it is, and it's not even straight either. So a lot of potential for a big incident to unfold if you give your rival a tap in the wrong place. But our top 6 compressed together here on the run up to Carousel. And we've still got yet more drivers joining them as they come into this braking zone. It seems like it's a big ebb and flow to the way the pack is. Just look at the long line of cars behind. That's going all the way down to Kyle Genske. In fact, you could probably, I don't know if Mike Oswald and Jack Stadola could be part of this pack. I think Stadola's, Oswald is just off the back of it. But that is incredible. Our top 12 now are all in a line. As I was saying, a big ebb and flow. It just seems at some points of the lap, the field compresses a little more. But they also happen to be the places where it's most difficult to pass. Funny how that works. But scything down the hill we come. This is the point where we were on board with Hawken in qualifying. Seeing his massive steering inputs as he tried to glide the car across the curbs. Nordschleife is one of those tracks where, yes, hitting the curbs, using them is often going to benefit you, but a vast majority of the curbs around here are of that very old style where, you know, they're certainly not flat by any means. And they provide a real barrier between the apex of the corner and the grass. Hawken got away from everybody then, but it's not too long until the next straight. See what kind of attack, for example, Lincoln Fox has here, as he and Eugenio Pollicci will try to get back into the front running spots. Down we go then to the Dottinger Höhe. A very difficult right-hander to lead us onto this straight. Flattens out right at the end. Understeer through here will prove disastrous. But doesn't seem like there's much of any wayward car behavior for anybody as things stand. Ray Lombardi pulls out of the slipstream. And he's going to go for it on Brandon Hawken. They're going to trade spots here. Fox and Polici doing the same thing. Lincoln Fox gets a little bit of slipstream off Hawken. And he's going to go for the lead. We're at the end of the second lap here. Very nicely done. Worth keeping in mind, though, that may not be the move that wins it. Still plenty to go here. Oh, that is tight. Just clipping the grass on the way into that final chicane was Lincoln Fox. He manages to hold on to it. And in the midst of it all, looks like Rui Coimbra's had a problem, and quite a big one. He has just completely dropped out of the running order. Travis Hewitt and Gareth Brocklesby still leading the open class in that particular area, but I have no idea what's happened to Rui Coimbra. It cannot have been good. But it looks to actually, upon reflection, it looks to me like he might have actually just dropped from the server. If there was no incident in the incident log and there was no crash otherwise, yeah, he disappeared. And that's technical issues there for Rui Coimbra, which is a real shame. So that's going to be another driver joining the retirements list. And Rui was right in the middle of a fantastic race here with, looks like that's Carl Genski alongside him. Oh, contact and then hit in the back. Oh my God. Whoa. That was incredibly close. It was not a technical issue for Rui Coimbra. It was a near miss. Not sure which driver it was ahead that just avoided getting plowed into by the out-of-control Rui Coimbra, but that was quite the lucky escape. Shame nonetheless that Coimbra had to tow back to the pits from there, but I think everyone else involved in that general area can breathe a sigh of relief now. So back to the battle for the lead. Lincoln Fox has the number one spot. Ray Lombardi and Brandon Hawken now are the ones chasing. And we'll see what kind of teamwork can be mounted here. It's much more of a downhill run out of Sabina Schmitz than I ever imagined. Sometimes you look at a racetrack on a flat screen, or you're even driving it on the sim, and you don't realize until you actually take a look at you know, like a free-flying camera, or actually have a look around the sort of digital model of the circuit in iRacing, that you realize how big some of these elevation changes actually are. An incredible circuit, the Nürburgring, built in the early 1920s, or late 1920s, as a test bed for supreme German machinery. And of course, after the war, and even before the war, very quickly established a reputation as one of the most dangerous racetracks on the planet, one of the most challenging as well, with its sheer length and the amount of difficult corners packed into this over 20-kilometer layout. Ray Lombardi going for the lead on Lincoln Fox, but the cutback underneath from the number 48 as they come through the kinks. You don't often want to go side by side through this section. It'll really slow you up, and Brandon Hawken just proving that, as well as Eugenio Polici with a fantastic run there. Lombardi's going to have to yield to Hawken, stay behind as they enter the next section of the circuit. It'll bring you up to the town of Adenau. Just goes to show how big of a circuit this is. It's called the Nürburgring for the village of Nürburg. that sits roughly in the middle, sort of alongside the straight. The castle that you often see in shots of this circuit is Nürburgring Castle. And that's at the sort of central southern end of the venue. And then up north you have the town of Adenau. A few other localities besides. Such a big circuit. And it frankly surprises me that it's still active. Obviously, there's been a lot of safety concerns for the Nürburgring over the years, but the 24-hour race has held strong this whole time. In fact, I remember reading somewhere that largely due to Max Verstappen's entry into the race, this year's 24 Hours of Nürburgring apparently is the first one in history to be sold out, which is pretty incredible, honestly. This place has a soul. A lot more soul than some racetracks around the world. And there is motorsport history here as well, like in the 1950s when Juan Manuel Fangio took his fifth title in style, driving through the field at the German Grand Prix. Stefan Belloff's 6-minute and 11-second time in the final World Sports Car Championship race at this circuit. Skipping forward quite a few decades, also the Porsche 919 Evo, with the sort of victory tour that Porsche did with that supremely kitted out, regulations unfettered version of their LMP1 car. Never thought I'd see a lap of the Nürburgring in 5 minutes, but here we are. We are at that point now, and I think it's only going to get even more extreme as lap times approach their theoretical maximum around here. But lap times for these MX-5s, they are round about, well, just under twice the amount of time that it took the Porsche 919 Evo to complete a lap around the Nordschleife itself, just the Nordschleife. Don't forget, here for Spec-5 World Tour, we are running the Grand Prix circuit as well. So if it's 9 minutes and 55, and it'd probably take about 2 minutes and 10 seconds, I would estimate, for an MX-5 to make its way around the full Grand Prix circuit layout. I'd say about 1:50 to make its way around the sort of truncated version of the Grand Prix circuit we're running, where the arena section isn't used. Lap times for the MX-5 around the Nordschleife itself would probably approach about 8 minutes or so. 8.5 minutes, let's call it, just to be safe. Should actually get my stopwatch out and figure that out. But for the moment, Lincoln Fox looks pretty comfortable in the lead of the race. There's a bit of gravel being thrown onto the circuit there. Something the drivers will have to be very careful of. There are no tarmac runoffs on the Nordschleife. Travis Hewitt keeping the open class lead here, just up behind Kyle Genske. But his closest competition for the open class win is right behind Gareth Brocklesby. In the, oh God, that is bad for Kyle Genske. Vaulting over the curb at high speed, just avoiding getting it into the barriers. Seems that Kyle is struggling a little bit in that section of the circuit. Oh, take a breath. Yeah, it looks like Kyle is, oh, hello. That is a lot of gravel that's just been thrown up there. I see Ray Lombardi dropping places. He's back to 7th. I get the feeling Lombardi might be the person who left those wheel tracks in the gravel. Remember, Lombardi was fighting for the lead of the race earlier on, and he was in 3rd at the time of this incident. Was there contact from Pollici? No, there wasn't. It was just a case of Lombardi getting too hot into the corner and throwing up the gravel there. Once again, not much room to recover. And Lombardi drops further to 8th spot as the changes happen a little bit further up here. Eugenio Pollici massively slow there, as it seems Michael Coates is pushing Donnie Moffat to the lead of the race. Or at least trying to. And he will have succeeded. There's Donnie Moffat in the lead now. Looked like the others were almost standing still with how easily that move was made. But that's an interesting call there. Moffat to the lead just in time to be taking to pit lane. And he's going to be followed in by Lincoln Fox, his teammate Eugenio Pollici, Mitchell Peak, and Otis Adams Jr. It looks like Genski's coming in as well as Hewitt, Brocklesby, Martin. All of our open class podium plus Jack Stadola is in. Mike Oswalt comes in as well. Now it's a battle of the pit crews here as Brandon Hawken, Michael Coates, and Ray Lombardi, the only ones from our leading group to stay out. Will that work out for them? Left side tires getting thrown on, and this being the Nürburgring Nordschleife, no surprise to see that pretty much everyone is deciding to take right side tires too. In our normal length Spec-5 World Tour races, it's usually only one side of tires that goes on, but both of them here. That's a long pit stop there for Otis Adams, coming out a bit far behind. Lincoln Fox is the first out of pit lane, with a total pit stop time actually 0.2 slower than what Donnie Moffat could manage, but Fox was a lot quicker through the pit lane. Eugenio Pollici comes out 3rd of the cars that have pitted, Adams 4th of them, and Mitchell Peak in 5th in line. Of course, that is discounting our current top 3 of Hawken, Coates, and Lombardi, who stayed out of pit lane. And that's how far behind everyone is. Hawken and Coates, they are about to make their way onto the Nordschleife as everyone else is just trying to find their way down to the southern end of the circuit now. Look at that right there, apex of the southern hairpin, as Lincoln Fox leads Donnie Moffat out of there. Some bigger gaps have resulted from this pit cycle. So it's going to be a challenge for Pollici in particular to get back into the draft of his teammate. And they'll be dealing with warming up their tires again as well after just 3 laps of the Nürburgring. Having to deal with tires that need to come up to proper temperature. But all things considered, it's quite a cool conditions out there. 31 degrees Celsius track temperature, 23 Celsius in the air. So it's a lovely temperate day, and it seems that the tires won't have much trouble getting up to temperature with the track temp right in the Goldilocks zone, so to speak, at least with the way iRacing's surface and tire models work at the present time. So under an hour to go now. And that is the first of 2 pit stops, I think, that we'll be seeing. Brandon Hawken and Michael Coates are working together beautifully right now. Some proper bump drafting going on between these two as they have left Ray Lombardi in the dust. I will correct myself. I'm hearing potentially just 1 pit stop. This is a double length race compared to our usual ones. Question is, can they make a whole hour? So we'll see. We'll see. It's an incredibly long circuit as well for the final round of the season. I remember the last time we ran a 90-minute race was actually at the Bend, and that was last season, I believe. that, I think, would have been a bit easier to work out a strategy for, because while the bend isn't a short circuit by any stretch of the imagination, it gives you more opportunities to go past pit lane. Here at the Nürburgring, if you miss a queue and you don't pit on the correct lap, you're going to have to wait a whole 10 minutes before coming into the pits again. And if you don't have the fuel to make it around, then boy, you are in trouble. We'll keep our focus here, though, on Lincoln Fox, leading the charge of the cars that came into pit lane on that lap. And, well, it looks like literally everyone, apart from our top 3, came into the pits that lap. So I would expect Hawken, Coates, and Lombardi to find their way into pit lane at the end of this lap. If not, then I have no idea what's going on. But I'm familiar with that state of mind. Comfortable in my lane and thriving. As it seems that Lincoln Fox is at the moment. He's consistently been up the top of this series. He's missed out on the title a few times, but he is mighty skilled in the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup. Seems that Eugenio Pollicci has done a good job catching up to his teammate Donnie Moffat as they will try to chase down Lincoln Fox. The first sector times are in, and Pollicci ran a sector time that was about 6-7 tenths quicker than his teammate. Only about a tenth faster than Fox, but regardless, obvious that Pollicci has pace, at least straight out of pit lane. He switched those tyres on very well. Speaking of his teammate, Mr. Moffat, behind Mr. Fox. Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is where the bump draft kicks in. Keeping it flat out through here. Still very curious to see if they lift or tap the brakes at all through this section. I think it's a lift, if that. It's honestly a terrifying part of the circuit in fast machinery. And I'm sure it is in an MX-5 as well. Late braking. I get the feeling there isn't really going to be any overtaking in this particular group. I think they're more interested in working together in the slipstream to try and gain some kind of, well, not so much an undercut, but just try to get track position over Hawken, Coates, and Lombardi. Got to say as well, Kyle Genske is getting amongst it with the open class leaders. Genske, of course, in the pro class, but he is dragging Gareth Brocklesby along. Jack Stadola not far behind. Genske in the pro class, but surrounding him are the top 3 of the open class. Oh, there was a big curb hit there from Genske. And he's sliding that rear around. Seems like a bit of an early apex there from Mr. Brocklesby. Catches the grass a little, and Jack Stadola is going to get a little bit closer. Oh dear, oh dear. Whoa, whoa. Almost all of them getting into the gravel, and there goes Brocklesby. Genske's going to try and hold on. Drags the brakes a bit too far, though. Has to fall in line. What does Stadola do from here? Cars up the front, making mistakes. Travis Hewitt through it all, holding on to the lead of the open class as we check back in. with Michael Coates and Brandon Hawken. They have left Ray Lombardi in the dust. Ray is about 5 seconds behind these guys right now with no one to assist him. So this could prove pretty crucial for the pit cycle for our current top 3. Lombardi would have wanted to stay with Hawken and Coates so that he'd have track position coming out of pit lane on the drivers that came in on the last lap. And that's interesting to see. Brandon Hawken lifting off and letting Michael Coates go. The gap continues to increase here. Hawken is slow and continuing to slow. What has happened to our championship leader? What's going on here? Is he out of fuel? Did Brandon Hawken underfuel it? He's just coasting. There is no fuel left in that car. So this could make things very interesting. Hawken obviously has to slow down to the pit lane speed limit, but he's going to keep coasting here. Fortunately, the start-finish straight at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit is slightly downhill, so won't have to worry too much. Michael Coates first into pit lane, and he should come out with the lead pack, potentially. Hawken just crawling it in there. Gets the fast repair and that much-needed fuel. But that's going to really change things in the battle for the lead. There goes Lincoln Fox, Donnie Moffat, and Eugenio Pollicci, and they are absolutely caning it past these guys. Lombardi, Coates, and Hawken, they're still not done with their stops there. Oh, just getting them done now. Michael Coates with 34-second stop. 31 seconds for Gareth Brocklesby. And Brandon Hawken still at a standstill in pit lane, is going to fall down, potentially outside the top 15 here. Geordie Fike on track coming up on him. Yeah, this is interesting. Very interesting indeed. Gonna have to keep that championship standings dock on standby here. Brandon Hawken down to 17th now as he completes the pit stop here. So the face of the race has changed once again. Michael Coates, who was leading that pack that stayed out of pits for an extra lap, finds himself in 5th place. And about 4.5 seconds behind Otis Adams, who sits P4 for the moment. And then it's another big gap, about 8 seconds or so to our current top 3, Lincoln Fox, Donnie Moffat, and Eugenio Pollicci. Moffat and Pollicci, the teammates, have been looking for a good result for the team. They were looking forward to having one at Monza earlier on in the season, but unfortunately, Pollicci was out very early. And Moffat was right at the center of some of our biggest incidents at Monza. Maybe this circuit is going to be the place where they finally get that one too. We'll have to wait and see. Lincoln Fox, a very tough customer, as always. So we move back to Carl Genski, who sits just ahead of our open class drivers. Looks like Tom Athon's just become the next driver to have to tow back to pit lane. I didn't see any particular incident for Athon. It may have been technical problems, but we will see momentarily here on the replay. Athon coming into Sabina Schmitz. Oh, that was contact there with where was Mike Oswald? Yeah, I think it was Mike Oswald. Yeah, okay. So Oswald was right up there with the open class, but now sits P12 after that little turn there, and Athon deciding it was best to come back to the pit lane from there. Meanwhile, the battle for the open class lead continues. Coming down to Arenberg. Love that corner. Third gear in most cars, lots of speed you can carry through it, slight banking, and the slingshot effect you get out of the corner coming down this section is fantastic. Always fun to nail a lap of the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Tough though it is, lots of curb being used by all of our open class drivers there. Good run for the moment though from Gareth Brocklesby. He was sitting second in open class for the majority of the first part of that race, but played it very well. A good pit stop and the slipstream of the pro class car, Kyle Genski, to give him the advantage over his competitors. Well, we are at the halfway point now. With pit stops completed, still plenty to go here in the final round of Spec-5 World Tour Season 19. Round 15 at the Nürburgring will be keeping a close eye on the likes of Brandon Hawken to see if he can make his way back into the top 10. Whether or not we'll see those championship standings affected. What can Lincoln Fox do with Donny Moffat and Eugenio Pollicci chasing him? What can Gareth Brocklesby do here as he continues to try and hold on to the open class lead? We'll be back here on HJBC in just a moment. And we return here on HJBC as we were following our open class leaders around. It's all a waiting game, the passes to be made here. But our open class leader, Gareth Brocklesby, is certainly playing with fire with those curbs. That's a wide exit there. He needs to be careful to bring it in, otherwise Jack Stadola is going to make his way past. Stadola was sitting third before, but now moving up to second in the open class here. So just coming out of that pit cycle as we were on break. If you're just joining us, I'm Reese Gardner. Michael Derby is manning the producer's controls. Hawken currently sitting in 16th after running out of fuel on the way into the pits. 16th place gives 55 points, and Brandon Hawken was well over 100 points in the lead coming into this round. So even if he does finish there down in 16th, it obviously won't be the result he was looking for, but it'll still be enough to keep him in the lead of the pro class and take the Spec-5 World Tour Season 19 Drivers title. And if Hawken somehow retires from this one, that'll become one of his drop rounds. No, actually, no. I believe you can't drop the final round. Is that correct? I'll have to double check that. Regardless, what you need to know is Hawken is still in a good position to keep his championship lead there. But the race lead is still very much on. It is a triple bump draft here. Proper tandem super speedway stuff here from Lincoln Fox, Donnie Moffat, and Eugenio Pellicci. Pellicci, of course, our pole sitter for this final round. And I think he's playing the game pretty well. He can stay in the slipstream and save a bit of fuel if he needs to, if he's underfueled the car at all. But looking at his pit stop time, I don't think he has. Pellicci actually has the slowest pit stop of the top three. Moffat with the quickest at 24.5 seconds or thereabouts. Lincoln Fox at about 24.7, and Eugenio Pellicci 25.4 seconds stopped in the box. But once again, the lane time from Lincoln Fox from entry to exit was just fantastic. A full second faster than Pellicci through the pit lane, and then about 0.6 faster than Moffat. Fox has always been very strong on pit lane, and it's worked out beautifully for him this time. We move back to the open class lead, which is now in the hands of Jack Stadola. Kyle Genske in amongst it with Brocklesby and Hewitt. And Kyle's going to get the run out of the chicane on the outside there, but Hewitt with the run on Stadola. I think very wisely blending back into line. It's difficult to make moves here, but Brocklesby is going to go side by side with Genske here. Don't forget, Genske is in the pro class, so he's technically not competing with these guys for overall points, but points are assigned overall regardless of what class you're in Spec-5 World Tour. Wherever you finish on track, that's how many points you get. So the likes of Brocklesby and Lee Martin will definitely want to make their way past Kyle here so that he doesn't take points off them. It seems like Genske may be a tiny bit of a loose cannon in the midst of all of this. Just dragging the brakes into that left-hander, gets the rotation. Very nice. Lots of speed can be carried through these corners on the Grand Prix circuit. But interestingly, the Grand Prix circuit has a slightly lower grip surface than the Nordschleife does. Bit smoother, being a FIA Grade 1 Grand Prix venue. That's late on the brakes, but not too late. Through the fast chicane, the original layout of that chicane, before it was slowed down for F1 in the late 90s and early 2000s. Let's see what moves are to be made here down in Hatzenbach, this never-ending series of S-bends that begins right about now. So much speed to be carried through these corners. It's a lovely flow getting up over the curbs. Seems like Genske might have been struggling a little with the exits of a few of those, but that'll be all well and good. Still within slipstream range, coming up to Flugplatz, place where cars go airborne. Meanwhile, there's been a change for fourth overall. It looks like Adams has let Michael Coates and Ray Lombardi go. Remember, Coates and Lombardi were two of the three cars who stayed out that extra lap before coming in to get their requisite fuel and tyres. They find themselves in fourth and fifth now, working together quite nicely. And Adams would do well to stick with them, because I feel like they might be on a charge. There's our leaders, meanwhile. Fox still holding on to it. Moffat and Pollicci more than happy to push him along down the straights. Usually when we're talking about battling in the slipstream and not going for moves too early, we're thinking, you know, the final lap is when you really want to get on the attack. But a lap here is so long, I think we're not actually going to be seeing any outright battling for the win until they get onto the Dottinger Höhe on the final lap. And where the slipstream kicks in and where they stand the chance to actually make a move stick. Whatever happens, we are certainly on for an exciting finish. Oh dear, that's a problem. Oh, that's a big problem. Is that Lombardi? It is. Oh, that's huge. Hit from the back by Coates, and then Adams comes in and smashes into Coates, tripping over each other at a very crucial point of this circuit. That is a major change there. And it looks to me like we won't be seeing much of a charge now from at least Ray Lombardi. Michael Coates may be feeling a little sheepish there. He's wide through Bergwerk. That's going to let Adams back through. Adams carrying a lot of damage himself from running into the back of Coates there. So I would guess at this point, potentially the charge from these guys to try and get back up to the podium is effectively over at this point. All their cars will have some measure of damage and won't be helped in a straight line by any stretch. A rough go of things for sure, but our leaders are staying calm and controlled here. Oh, that's wide there for Fox. Usually, you don't want to go wide at the carousel, but potentially that was a tactical move there from Lincoln. He's going to allow Moffat and Pollicci to have a go at leading here, but he'll still be within slipstream range. Jumping back to the open class lead. Oh, that's wide for Stodola. That's going to let Brocklesby back through, and oh, that causes a checkup on the exit. Carl Genske, Lee Martin, and Travis Hewitt all struggling. Don't forget that Hewitt is the leader of the Open Class Championship coming into this round. $761 points for Travis Hewitt coming into this final round, playing 718 for Jack Stodola. And as things stand here, Stodola in 8th, Hewitt in 11th. The race were to end right now, that would be 73 points to Stodola and 65 points to Hewitt. So Travis at this point would still take the Open Class Championship. He just needs to make sure that he stays within those crucial few positions of Stodola. Oh, dearie me. That was very wide for Brocklesby. Carl Genske thinks maybe this is an opportunity to work his way past Stodola as a result. Side by side through this section of the circuit doesn't usually work out, but Stadola finds a gap and slips into it. Now it looks like Brocklesby's potentially going to run away with the lead. But don't forget, they've got the super long straight coming up. And everyone is in prime spot to take that slipstream from him. But also, it seems Brocklesby just wasn't very consistent through those flat-out S's at the bottom of the hill. Lost some time to Kyle Genske, who runs a bit wide on the entry. Just caught the grass on the white line. Gathers it up, though. Very nicely done. But again, he's wide coming out of Kleiner Carousel. It's just giving Brocklesby all the advantage in the world at every corner. There will have to be some tandem drafting from this group to catch back up to the open class lead now. Meanwhile, there's Lincoln Fox going back to the overall lead. And very nicely done indeed from Lincoln. He's going to come back into pit lane, so it looks like I was correct with my presumption that this would be a two-stopper here. Our leaders in. Now, the question is, for Ray Lombardi, for Michael Coates, for Brandon Hawken, do they come in on this lap as well? We'll have to find out. For the moment, open class lead is back on, and Stadola has managed to work his way up to the back of Brocklesby. Brocklesby's going to blend into pit lane, so is Stadola, so is Genske. They're going to be followed in by, everyone in the pack. With half an hour to go in the race, this is the time to come back in. It looks like Ray Lombardi and Michael Coates have decided to stay out once more, which I think is an interesting decision, considering that they both gathered some pretty, I would say, some pretty significant damage from their crash. Their straight line speed will be suffering, but potentially they're leaving it an extra lap because they don't want to risk running out of fuel. I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, out of the pits comes our leaders, and Brandon Hawken has stayed out. Lincoln Fox emerges right in front of him. Hawken at the time had worked his way up to 15th place, which once again is a good enough finishing position to still give him the title. I think Hawken's main goal here is just to stay in the running. It'll be very interesting to hear what Brandon has to say about his fuel situation at the first pit stop, and whether or not he's learned from it in the second stint. Car 149 of Lee Martin then moves to the lead of the open class. Travis Hewitt, our open class championship leader, third place in open, 11th overall. And much like for Brandon Hawken, though he is not up at the front of his class, I think Hewitt, with a finish in this general area, will still give him the points that he needs in order to take his respective title from here. But we still have a few laps of the Nürburgring combined Gesamtstrecke to negotiate, and our former race leaders, I guess you could say our effective race leaders still, Eugenio Pellicci and Donnie Moffat, could get a 1-2 for the team. But Brandon Hawken's going to be an extra random thorn in the side of these guys, potentially, because he's got a lighter fuel load right now, and Hawken's also been generally the fastest driver in the field this season, so he is all over the back of Lincoln Fox, trying his best to hurry him along here so they can get the slipstream off Pellicci and Moffat. There will be a chance to get that bump draft on in just a few moments' time. Don't make contact over Flugplatz. Double apex, fast right-hander. So difficult to line up. And there goes Hawken. He's not going to try and go for the bump draft. He is going to try and go for track position here. Taking advantage of the slipstream like he is, he should be able to vault a couple more positions when he comes out of the pits eventually. The few seconds or so that he gains from slipstreaming these guys while their strategies are crossing over, so to speak. Much like a Venn diagram. Could be the advantage that Hawken is looking for to try and challenge for a top 10, but it's going to be tough from here with how spread out the field is. So as things stand, we're going to go to a replay here of Peter Rousokis, who we haven't given much airtime to in this race. And unfortunately, he's going to get his moment in the sun sliding around on the Grand Prix circuit. A difficult corner to nail. It's got a fast entry and a bit of banking to it, and it can be easy to lose the rear end into there. Fortunately, no one else was around, and it's nice and wide runoff in that place, so Peter has been able to get back up to speed. Unfortunately, we seem to have also lost Sean Hayes, but that was a long time ago. That was 11 minutes ago, like pretty much on the previous lap. That Sean Hayes had whatever issue has sent him back to pit lane and into retirement. We still have 21 cars running. And at the very back of the field, it looks like there's some moves to be made at least. I've seen Paul Murgatroyd move past Rob Conahan. There's been a problem for Brocklesby. Brocklesby's just towed back to pit lane. Gareth Brocklesby, who was challenging for the lead of the open class. What on earth happened to him here? Excuse me, he just caught the curb and lost the rear end. And that's the front that goes head on into the guardrail. That is the end of Gareth Brocklesby's race. What a shame. Brandon Hawken, though, making the charge. This is a bit of a dangerous maneuver, or at least it could turn into one. It looks like Brandon's playing this well. He's not going for the lead outright just yet of this pack. He'll stay behind until the opportunity presents itself to move past Polici. Polici defensive on the way into this corner here. So obviously he was thinking that Brandon might go for it, but evidently they're going to be fine to just follow each other through this next section of twisties. So much speed to be carried through the carousel. Making sure to hit your requisite apexes and keep your average speed up. So then, a bit more of a gap now starting to form. Just seems like Donnie Moffat and Lincoln Fox dropping back slightly, but they'll get all of that back when they get to the Dottinger Höhe. Always interesting seeing the lines there out of the right-hander. It's almost a double curb on the exit. Most drivers don't go anywhere near the red and white stripes, but we're seeing these drivers take an awful lot out of that exit. For the moment, it looks like calm has fallen over the circuit. Looks like this battle here is definitely the closest on track at the moment, with about 5 seconds or so between Ray Lombardi and Michael Coates in the current lead of the race. Meanwhile, here is Lee Martin and Jack Stadola. Two drivers fighting for the lead of open class behind Kyle Genske here, who has not been able to get free of them. Should be a good amount of slipstream here for Martin. The challenge for Stadola is to also nail the run onto what is, well, effectively one of the back straights of the Nürburgring here. Here's our leader Lombardi coming into pit lane. It looks like he was able to stretch that tank nicely. Same for Michael Coates. And they currently sit about 14 seconds ahead of the pack of Pollicci, Hawken, Moffat and Fox. I would expect Hawken to come in here as well. And he will. This time under full power. Stop is complete now. Is it complete for Lombardi? No, he just came in. Jesus, a long pit lane here at the Nürburgring. I thought for sure that he was going out of the box, but he was actually coming into it. Stop complete. Very quick for Lombardi. 17.8 seconds. And Michael Coates about the same. Hawken, meanwhile, just making his way out with a 14.5-second stop. 18 minutes to go. Just under 10 minutes per lap. Looks like it's going to be 2 laps to go, including this one. So now the drivers will start thinking about what is to come next. What time to really start the sequence of maneuvers that will end up in our final finishing positions. But Pollicci, the pole sitter, is back in front. And his teammate Donnie Moffat playing rear gunner for him. As Lincoln Fox is the only other driver to join our top 2. They currently sit a massive 20 seconds or so ahead of Ray Lombardi and Michael Coates. And that's going to be really tough to make up here. I mean, around a track as long as this, in some ways, it's easier than at other tracks to lose 10 seconds a lap. But Lombardi and Coates are going to have to really work together here if they want any chance of even getting close to our top 3 at this stage. Unless something drastic happens, their charge for the podium may well be over. So it might have to be just between them to get it done. Brandon Hawken coming out in 7th spot with Otis Adams getting past him as Hawken came out of the pits. But now Hawken has those tyres working nicely. Adams has been pretty strong here today. It actually looks like Adams doesn't have a representative fastest lap yet. It appears that Otis Adams has gotten off tracks on every one of his race laps so far. But comparing those lap times, it's really obvious seeing the advantage of the slipstream. Lincoln Fox's fastest lap, which would have been one he had slipstream on, was a 9-minute 55.6. That is the fastest valid lap of the race. Now, if I compare that to Hawken, Brandon Hawken's fastest lap, a 9-minute 59. Hawken, of course, didn't have as much of a smooth run consistently up the front of the field as Lincoln Fox has. So, considering that the times up the front are going to be about 9-minute 55s or so, 9-minute 56s, Ray Lombardi and Michael Coates would have to run somehow 10 seconds faster than that, and I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see what Pollicci and Moffat can do to keep Lincoln Fox at bay, see who takes victory in the final round of Spec-5 World Tour for Season 19. What a season it's been. We've seen some pretty dominant performances from Brandon Hawken. But by and large, the racing has been fantastic. And it's always been solid action. And Hawkins had to really work for just about every one of the multiple victories that he has gotten this season. Here he is then in the slipstream of Otis Adams. Finding their way up to this chicane that was added in the early 1970s. It used to just be a fast left-hander onto this section. But one of the many subtle changes that this track has undergone over the years, side by side, and Hawken is going to take 6th place back. Adams didn't really fight that one. And he didn't really need to. As long as he can get a consistent run going here, he'll be able to stick in the slipstream of Hawken. And I think Hawken is going to need all the help he can get, because it's a long way ahead to Michael Coates. 12 seconds to be exact. And to be fair, Coates himself doesn't really have much slipstream help. Ray Lombardi sitting 2 seconds ahead, which is about double the range you need to be in to start picking up the slipstream in these cars. So I think it's just going to be the drivers versus the track at this point. The Nürburgring, much like Bathurst, you are racing the track just as much as you are racing every other car. It's an interesting dichotomy of just the nature of certain racetracks. You know, there are plenty of magnificent circuits around the world, Spa, Suzuka, etc. But tracks like Spa and Suzuka, as incredible as the circuits are, they still ultimately serve as the base from which you can make your moves. The Nürburgring does not give you that luxury. It's like almost driving a tarmac rally in places. You are just waiting for the next open section to make your move. And if you're faster in a particular section where it's hard to pass, well, tough luck. You're just going to have to stay there and wait for your next opportunity. Love this section of the track right here. That S-bend with an awful lot of curb and grasscrete to use. Coming up to the famous, colloquially known as YouTube corner. You look up clips from the Nürburgring, they're always going to be from that exact location. Oh, that's a little bit wide there on the way out for Pollicci. But I think he still has the pace and consistency to get this done. Going to be tough, though. If there's a mistake behind, he can build a gap, but he will still have his teammate and Lincoln Fox to contend with here. So just a reminder on how the standings are likely going to work out. With Brandon Hawken finishing in 6th, that is still going to be more than enough points to fully secure the Pro Class Drivers title. And with Travis Hewitt sitting in 3rd in Open Class and 11th spot, Jack Stadola 2nd in Open in 9th spot, the benefit should still fall the way of Travis Hewitt here. So as far as the championship goes, it's almost locked in at this point. But we will still have one more lap of the Nürburgring to go to really decide it. And anything can happen on that final lap. What kind of drama will we see eventuate from this? The teammates bump drafting at the front of the field. Moffat tapping some Morse code on the back of Polici. You see Coates in the distance there. Very distant 5th spot with Ray Lombardi, the invisible 4th place car in between them. Now, leaders stay in order. They are fully working together to secure their advantage at the front. Meanwhile, here's the Open Class lead. Lee Martin and Jack Stadola, 8th and 9th, with Kyle Genske just behind. Genski's been in and around them pretty much the whole race, and he's going to try and go past them here. But he doesn't have anyone helping him in the slipstream. He's carrying the momentum, but will the bump draft ultimately win out at the end of the straight? They're still even, and it looks like Genske's not going to get it done. He's going to be very aggressive on the brakes, but he ultimately decides it's best to stay behind again. A single car with the slingshot is still not enough to overcome the power of the bump draft. White flag is out, and the final lap has begun of Spec-5 World Tour Season 19. Eugenio Polici, Donnie Moffat, and Lincoln Fox, your top 3. And it's going to be all to play for which of them finishes on top. Meanwhile, big move from Jack Stadola there. Down the start-finish straight, taking the Open Class lead, and a slow run into the second corner for Lee Martin. But he translates that into a mammoth run on the way out. Stadola, I think, overshot the first chicane a little bit with that tight entry. It's not going to be enough to get them side by side again, but now Stadola would love to cap off a very strong season with another Open Class win. Travis Hewitt, though, seems to have just gotten the more consistent points finishes and is all on his own at the moment with 7 seconds to the car in front and about 16, 17 seconds to the car behind. There he is, effectively driving a solo session at the moment. But I think at a track like the Nürburgring, that's your ideal situation. You're in a position where you finish there, you'll be able to take your title, and you don't have anyone around you to distract you from that. You can just focus on your marks and set a consistent final lap on your way to the checkered flag. Back to Hutzenbach then, and our leaders. Donnie Moffat gaining a little bit of damage to his front bumper there from the bump drafting that he and Polici have been engaging in at various points. But that shouldn't affect his straight line speed too much. Lincoln Fox dropping back slightly from our top 2. Still within slipstream range though. 0.6 of a second behind Donnie Moffat. Here we go down this incredible flat-out sequence of left-hand kinks. This next turn coming up is almost always a lift, maybe a tap of the brakes and fast machinery. In the MX-5, though, it's maybe a slight lift, if that, over the crest before you bounce on the brakes for Arenberg. A consistent run for our leaders. So in terms of gaps, well, this is the closest fight at the front of the field. It's still very close for the open class lead too. Less than a tenth of a second between Stadola and Martin here, as Kyle Genske still is pushing them along from behind. And further down the field, there isn't a gap lower than about 6.5 seconds. Looks like the back end of the field is quite spread out, but these guys aren't. Mike Oswalt and Jason Stalker. Both drivers who have had their fair share of issues in this race, but still rolling, still looking for a good points haul here in the final round of the championship. Back to our leaders then. Who's going to be the most consistent of these guys? Lincoln Fox with the longest pit stop of our top three at the moment. 24 and 25 seconds respectively in the pit box for Polici and Moffat. And that should be enough to get them the fuel they need to complete the race. Still some question marks over Ray Lombardi and Brandon Hawken. Yes, their pit stops were shorter, pitting a lap later, but I would expect that the 17-18 seconds of Lombardi's stop is a bit more in the wheelhouse of what we'd expect for a last stop a lap later. Hawken with that 14.5 second stop, I have to wonder if he's going to be able to make it. Especially considering that now he's effectively driving on his own at the moment. He is catching up to Michael Coates. We focus on Coates at the moment, and if we switch cameras, there we go. We didn't need to switch cameras. Brandon Hawken is rapidly approaching. Making up some good time on this lap. Seems that Coates... keeping in mind, of course, that the last lap was an out lap for both Coates and Hawken. Coates' out lap was about 12 seconds slower than Brandon Hawken's. And Hawken definitely has the pace. Despite, interestingly, Hawken's official fastest lap still being a 9:59, which is a few seconds off what everyone else at the front of the field has been able to do. Well, we will turn our attention back to the lead of the race. They're officially in the second half of the final lap now. They're past Carousel. And will be making their way down these sweeping, tough bends to the Dottingerhöhe. Oh, and just like that, Brandon Hawken has passed Michael Coates. That was on the way out of Carousel. I wonder if that was a case of Coates running wide, which is very easy to do. We'll get a view of that. And we should also get a view of Kyle Genske shortly, because he's just moved past Stadola and Martin. There's Coates. Oh, yeah, the wiggle in the middle of the corner there. Managed to keep it out of the barriers, but that was a bit of a close run there with Brandon Hawken. It's actually quite a challenge to keep your car in that banked section in the carousel. You go in just a mile an hour too hot, and you'll find yourself slipping up and up and up, and then it's like falling over a berm. You won't carry any speed through the corner there. Back to the lead, though. Down to the bottom of the hill, through the flat-out S's here. It's been a solid run for Polici, qualifying on pole position for the final round. But we'll see if there's any team orders here between himself and Donnie Moffat. They have the extra element of Lincoln Fox to deal with here as well. There's the move, side by side. Moffat to the lead. Coming through the fast right-handers onto the Döttinger Höhe. And Polici still wide. Lets Fox through as well. But now, Polici is in prime position to gain the mother of all slipstreams and get back past them. Black flag for Kyle Genske. It looks like he's reached the incident limit. He's had an off. He has fallen down to 13th now. And it seems like he's towed back to the pits. But we'll keep our attention on our leaders for the moment. This is the chance Lincoln Fox needs to take victory. Donnie Moffat is going to make it 3 wide for the lead. No, sorry, Polici's going to make it 3 wide for the lead. Cutting through the middle of his teammate and Lincoln Fox, and Lincoln is left with no help as the teammates help each other. It's going to still be on, though. Moffat goes for the lead into these final S's. One more braking zone to go. Is Polici brave enough to try and pull it off? It's a tight run out of the final corners, but it looks like that might just be enough for Donnie Moffat to take victory in the final round of Spec-5 World Tour Season 19. Polici will have to settle for second in the end, and Lincoln Fox finishes a strong third. Fantastic work from our top 3. Amazingly, up to 5th for Brandon Hawken as Ray Lombardi takes 4th place up ahead. Hawken and Coates pushing each other to the line. And that's the engine blown there for Michael Coates. He doesn't need it anymore. That should be enough for Brandon Hawken to take the Pro Drivers title. Jack Stodola is going to take the on-track win in Open class with an 8th place here today. Another awesome drive, but Travis Hewitt is going to cross the line in 9th. And with that, we can officially crown Travis Hewitt our Open Class champion for Season 19. And he and Jack Stodola will certainly celebrate as we check out what happened to Kyle Genske. My God, that is... oh, dear. Oh, no. That's huge there. Who did he make contact with there? That was Lee Martin, who then got involved. That was a very lucky escape for Travis Hewitt, I have to say. Hewitt was the car right there in front. My goodness. Well, that's certainly going to be something to talk about in the interviews. Donnie Moffat is your final victor of the season ahead of our pole sitter Eugenio Polici. With Lincoln Fox rounding out your podium, Ray Lombardi finishes in 4th with Brandon Hawken taking 5th place and the Pro Class Drivers title. Michael Coates finishes in 6th with Otis Adams in 7th. Jack Stodola takes the Open Class win, but Travis Hewitt finishing just behind him has enough points to grab the Open Class Drivers title, with Jason Stalker taking 3rd in Open. Mike Oswalt finishes in 11th spot with Geordie Fike, Lee Martin, Andrew Cossack, and Kyle Genske rounding out your top 15 there. Genske, of course, with a black flag on the final lap and having to tow. Peter Rosokis had some issues on his way through, and it was still a finish ahead of Brian Jabelski and Paul Murgatroyd, with Rob Conahan and Sean Hayes rounding out your top 20. They are still yet to actually come across the line here to make those results official, so we'll have to wait and see where Kyle Genske actually is classified. Gerard Brady finishes 21st. And that's going to be the first of our multiple retirements here, with Gareth Brocklesby not able to make it to the finish. Neither did Tom Athon, Mitchell Peake, Todd Martin, Rui Coimbra, and Mark Kruger and Mark Cheng. So 28 cars got to the start, and it's going to be 17 of them seeing the checkered flag in the end. That rounds off the racing portion here, and we are going to bring Brandon Hawken into the box here to have a chat to our, well, we can officially crown him our Pro Class champion. That was an interesting run from you, Brandon. Staying out that extra lap compared to everyone else, trying to follow along with Ray and company, but evidently you didn't quite have the fuel to make it to the first pit stop.
Yeah, no, I was hoping I could make it, and then get a shorter stop there at the end. But yeah, I should have just come in the lap before. Yeah, it was got to be really close, even if I was saving. And yeah, I was like, yeah, once I got in the lead there, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna make it here. So yeah, I just thought I'd have hope I'd have enough to coast. And then yeah, once I got into the pit, like I didn't touch anything, or at least I don't think I did. But yeah, so it took tires, and then so it let me go, and then it just started sputtering. I was like, what? Where's my gas? And then so end up having to fuel separately. So it was yeah, really roundabout way of trying to get back up to the lead group there. I had absolutely no chance there to get to the lead battle, but that was yeah, that was a lot of fun trying to make my way back up there. And yeah, just yeah, I guess even if I did pit where I should have, the fuel thing probably would have happened anyway. So I guess I'm not too mad at myself for doing that. But it was man, yeah, that was a lot of fun though. Yeah, great win to Donnie. It looked like it came down to the wire there at the end. I looking forward to seeing that. And man, it was yeah, that was a lot of fun race with everybody.
Yeah, it was fun watching you carve your way up through the field. Well, you had the points in hand coming into this round, enough that even if you finished down in 16th or so, which is where you were after the pit stop cycle, even if that was the case, you would still have taken the Pro Class title anyway. So I think that really speaks to how good of a season you've had here in season 19. Season 20 will obviously be a few months away. Can we expect you to make a return?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like, as long as nothing crazy happens or shows up, yeah, I'll do my best to be here. It's been an absolute blast, and yeah, man, it was great stuff all season with like yeah, everybody all throughout the field, and yeah, it's just a really great group of drivers here. So yeah, just really happy with how the season went, and most importantly, all the battles along the way. We had so many races that went like right down to the finish, and yeah, looking forward to doing a lot more of those.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to watching them, Brandon. Thanks very much for joining us. Congratulations. Once again, you are the Pro Class champion for Season 19 of Spec-5 World Tour. Soak it up, mate. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks everybody, like you guys on the booth, everybody at Huge Ass, and man, it's and of course all the drivers, absolutely fantastic. Like I had so much fun all season. So yeah, looking forward to the next one.
As are we. That's Brandon Hawken there, finishing 5th on the road here at the Nürburgring and taking the title for the Pro Class. It would appear that we do not have our Open Class champion even in the server, in the Discord server at the moment. So while it would have been nice to have a chat to Travis Hewitt, it looks like we won't be getting that chance regardless. Oh, hang on, he's just jumped in. Perfect timing on that one. Travis Hewitt jumping in just as those words came out of my mouth. Travis, do you have us? Still got the mic muted. I believe he might be working on a few things behind the scenes, but I see he's unmuted now. Are you there, Travis? No sound coming through from Travis Hewitt just yet. We'll give him a moment to sort that out. But a fantastic drive from Travis Hewitt there to stay consistently in the top 3 of the open class pretty much all race, and came in with enough of a points margin to still be able to take the title in the end. We'll try one more time here, Travis. Are you with us? And ultimately, it would appear we don't have any audio coming through from our new open class champion. Regardless, we send our congratulations to you, Travis. A brilliant season from you, and magnificent driving in the final race of the season, with a lucky escape on the final lap when Kyle Genske had his issues. So we appreciate you coming in. Regardless, it looks like those audio issues, whatever they may be, have not quite been fixed yet. So we'll just say now, congratulations, Travis, if you are able to hear us, and hopefully you're back next season to defend your title in style. I think that's going to bring us to a close here on HJBC. Thank you very much for watching over the course of the entire season here of Spec-5 World Tour. It was a long season, 15 rounds at the end of the day on the road. It's a 1-2 for Absolute Motorsports, with Donnie Moffat taking it ahead of pole sitter Eugenio Pollicci and Lincoln Fox rounding out your podium. But Brandon Hawken there in 5th place is your Pro Class champion, and Travis Hewitt in 9th place overall, and 2nd in Open Class is the Open Class champion. From David Haynes, who could not be here today, from Michael Derby behind the scenes, and from myself, Reese Gardner, I want to thank you very much for tuning in on HJBC, and we certainly hope that you'll be able to join us when Spec-5 World Tour comes back around, when Season 20 gets in the books. We'll see you next time.